Okay, good morning. This is the morning of March 13th, 2025, ELEC 1013 Network Cabling class, Fancher College. Yeah, this month, looks like this month, Friday the 13th, is on Thursday. Okay, parampam. Okay, so, as always, you are going to, you're getting the second part first, and then you're going to get the first part of the week. As usual, because it just this year's or this semester's schedule is set up as such. So by doing this, I'm just repeating that. By doing this, you will get all the classes on YouTube for your viewing. All right. So So the second part is not that long for this week. So where's my thing here? Okay, so today we're going to also dip into week 12 because well, this part here I can talk forever, and I find that usually I don't have enough time to talk about it. So we're going to start into that. Not dipping into week 10 because it's a fiber optic introduction and practical applications, and I want that to be I just want that to be one whole thing for the whole week. So skip that, dip into that. Okay, let's start the ball rolling here if we can. All right, so here's the first part of that. You're going to get that when we're in person. This is the second group. And last time we were doing that, we stopped at this slide right here. All right, and it kind of works out nice because because this is almost like a second subtopic of the well, this week's lecture. All right, so wiring stages. Right? So this is part of the cable installation stages. First stage, well, the first stage would be surveillance, which we'll talk about in the third slide. The third slide will be for first. Okay, never mind. Surveillance is basically going on site. It has to be someone experienced to see what needs to be done, possible challenges, maybe plan some wiring routes, maybe find some difficult spots and coming up with a plan for it. And it all comes down to properly pricing the job. Also, comes down to making sure that the job goes smoothly and properly. Right? Not like some of the road construction sites. Okay, need a drummer. All right, so roughing in. What is roughing in? Cables, after being planned, the stage of rough in, the rough in stage, what did I write here a couple years ago? All cables brought to location at both ends, destination, which is destination, and home run location. So basically what we're doing at the rough-in stage, I'm just talking about the cable installation, or also popularly known as cable pulling. We just get the wires to the spot, but not installing it. We're bringing them to location. So, for example, if there is a wall here, we just bring the wires right roughly where they're supposed to be. Now, during the rough-in, you can prepare the pathway. So, for example, these are the vertical studs, and here's the horizontal or nodgings, but quite often they're called horizontals or horizontal studs. When the drywall is going to be installed, there will be very little thing that we could do. Oh well, we can do stuff to do, but it's going to take us longer, and we're going to have to put more effort to it, and that all comes down to spending more time than we need to. So we could just pre-drill the hole or drill the opening in the horizontal stud, and pull the wire maybe right into the box, and then just coil it up and leaving it there. Now, use your own discretion, because sometimes it makes sense just to get things faster. If there are no horizontal studs, you know that they're, well, because you're going to see, you can just leave those wires, either if there's an opening here, usually when there's steel studding going on, steel framing, then you're going to see open space here. You can just drop the wire in. When it comes to timber, you're going to have the top plate installed, and it's a good idea to pre-drill the hole here just to make sure that the pathway is there. All right, so just bringing the wire right to where it's roughly supposed to be, and coil it there. Of course, the wire has to be labeled. And here is another, that's the other side of it. This is a job that I did, well, about 10 years ago. And of course, you see, why do I have the pictures? Because I had to take the pictures for the deliverables, right? So I just kept a lot of pictures from previous jobs that I have installed, and now I can use them, right? So when we're asking you to take the pictures for the deliverables, for the lab reports, it is because this is what you will be doing. So kind of getting you used to that kind of procedure. Okay? So here is the head end. This is a specific type of a head end because that was, well, it was a partially commercial residential space. So it was a house that was made to be a student house, right? So a lot of the wiring would be done just as if you were a commercial. So for the Ethernet wires, cable TV at that time, and other wires. And the head end was, well, it was a closet space. And of course, you don't see the closet space here because the drywall is not installed, but all the devices are installed, or the device boxes are installed. So what did I do here? I brought all the wires to the home run location. This would be the home run location. And we would choose, we would choose the place to mount the patch panel. And then we would get back to it later. But we need to complete the first stage, which would be rough-in stage. Rough-in stage. This way, we could do the cabling in a structured way, in an efficient way. So, things make sense. Because if you just keep, running wire one by one, and see things as they go, you will never be able to complete this job on time, and you will never be able to complete this job properly. So what did I do here? At all the locations that were there, this is not a picture, it's just a drawing, I roughed in the wires to the location, and all the wires a home run to the home run location, and I installed just a bigger device box just to pull them out. And after the drywall is going to be put on, maybe some what we call the spoon type of a faceplate can be installed. So the wires are coming out of the wall nice and neat. Right? Now, what else? I took some extra steps. You gotta foresee things. I can see that this construction is well, in kind of raw stage at this point. What does that mean? It means that they're going to, once I pull the wires, I leave. I just don't stay here. I do other jobs, and then I wait for this site to be ready for me to come back. Right? So I'm not just going to run the wires and lay them on the floor, because they will be destroyed. There will be other trades. There will be flooring people. There will be drywalling people. There will be other kinds of trades coming in. Who knows who else yet? And they will be stepping on the wires. They'll be pushing them aside. And by the time I get back, those wires are going to be so destroyed that I'm going to have to think about pulling new wires, which is going to be more difficult because the drywall is going to be installed. So I did some foreseeing action here. I wrapped them in a plastic foil, lifted them off the floor a little bit, just so if somebody, if the floor people come there and they have to do their thing, they have to do very little to my wires to push them aside. Okay. So that's one of the situations. And also, if you have clear stages established, then it helps with the billing process. Try to avoid a lump sum after the whole job is done, because you never know how long this job is going to take, how long you're going to have to wait for the other trades to be ready. And in the meantime, you have the bills to pay, you have people to pay their wages, and sometimes, if worse comes to worse, it doesn't happen very often, but it is a possibility that the general contractor is going to go bankrupt, go out of business. And all the time and effort that you have put into this site is going to be wasted, because nobody's going to get paid. Nobody will pay you if the general contractor is out of business, legally bankrupt. That's it. They're out of business. So you're going to be stuck with all the bills that you paid for the wires, maybe possible some device boxes and whatnot. And if you hire people, then you still have to pay them, right? So doing the jobs in stages helps you with covering some of the losses if something bad happens. So a rough-in could be considered as a stage, and what I mean by that is, in contract, when you write up the contract with the client or with the general contractor, you can just say, after rough-in stage, you expect so much money to be wired, or you expect a paycheck of so and so as part of the whole thing. And if the money is not on your account, then you have the right to not continue. Of course, you gotta talk to your lawyer when it comes to some legal details, but basically that's what it comes down to. Right? And so if you get paid by stages, rough-in, some other stage, and towards the end, if the general contractor goes bankrupt, then you still have that money that you worked for before. Maybe you are not going to continue with the job and not going to get paid the rest of the money, but the stuff that you did, you got paid for. Right? So roughing in stages has more, or the doing things in stages. There's more than one reason that we do that. First of all, the most important reason is so you can continue, you can do your job efficiently and properly. Right? Now, the next stage after the rough-in stage would be the destination preparation, destination prep. Here is another home run. See these two, this picture here and this picture here are two different jobs that I did years ago. And those two home runs look a little bit different. This is a house transferred into a semi-commercial facility, like a student house. This is it's a business. And it's not a house, it's a commercial building, and the idea was to install the equipment rack. So I installed the equipment rack in the rough location where it's supposed to be, after doing the survey, talking to the client, choosing the spot, agreeing to things, explaining things to client, let them make their own decisions. And then, okay, so that's where the equipment rack is going to be. So you see here, these wires here are the home run wires from all the desktop and wall jack locations. All right, so now the destination prep, after you have done all your roughing or the rough-in stage, then you go and terminate one end and you terminate the other end. Now, based on what we have done in our class, when we already have done our patch panel lab. Oops, I was going to zoom in a little bit. Can I zoom in? That's as far as I can see. See, there are a couple of rack-mounted patch panels. Can you tell if these patch panels are loaded or unloaded? Huh. Can anybody pipe in or maybe send some kind of a text in the chat line? What do you think these patch panels are? Loaded or unloaded? Unloaded. Charlie, very good. How can we tell? Well, the patch panels have just those cavities ready for the jacks to be snapped in there. So I sort of prefer it that way because look what I can do here. I have all these wires laying down. What am I going to do? I'm going to do a little bit of a maybe a couple of turns for a service loop. And yes, I know whoever is watching it after this class is done, maybe years from now, some people are going to say, "Oh, never do service loop," and some people are going to say, "Oh, you always have to do service loop." Okay, let's leave that discussion to people who care about discussing that. I tend to have a service loop because if I need to service some of the wire, maybe something goes bad, I need to have a little bit extra length, I have something to play with. As far as generating the possibility of a crosstalk, it's a very minimal possibility. You can, and I always arrange those wires as far as cable management. I always arrange them in a nice equalized way, which means you can pretty much trace almost every wire with your eyes. Things are nice and neat. And yes, some people say, no, you shouldn't do that. You should just have those as they are because that minimizes the crosstalk. I have never had problem with the crosstalk like that. I have heard of someone having that, but over the 30 years of doing that, once there was a possibility, it's usually like 1 in a million. You probably have more chance of winning a lottery than having a crosstalk. But what I don't like about those wires as they are is that they're interweaved with each other, and once they're bound, there's a pressure, physical pressure on the wires that are inside the bundle more than on the outside, and one wire can press against the other wire, deforming it and thus altering the specifications of the wire. So you can run into more trouble doing that. Although some people prefer it this way, some people prefer it that way. As long as at the end of the day, as long as the job is pretty well, the wires all certify or test out properly, then you're good, right? If during the testing process, or if you have some problems, then you address that, and you could have the problem because you were doing that neat without the service loop, or you could have the problem because you were doing it the other way. So, take it as it goes and just address the problems as they arrive, if they arrive, right? So why do I like it this way here with the unloaded patch panel? Because I can just do a little service loop, run the wires along wherever I choose, maybe along the back side here, strap them, maybe run them here, or maybe run them to the top, whatever I choose, right? Nice, basically easy kind of a way, so the wires are not stretched, so the wires are not under any tension. And now I can just sort them by number. So let's say there's numbers from 1 to 17 here, and they're all just in that bundle. I can run them properly, and I can just push them through, run them here nice and neat, and push them through those openings. And then after things are nicely arranged, pre-planned, wires are pushed through those openings, I can just take my permanent marker and just make a mark on every wire as it comes out. And this is how far I have to strip. I have to strip those wires. And that's the spot that every connector is going to be put on. And then after the connectors are being put on, I can just snap them on, and the lengths are going to be nicely sorted out. And things are going to be nice and neat as far as cable management goes. If you have a loaded patch panel, well, you can still do a neat job, no problem. You just have to take a different approach. You just bring the wires as far as you think they should be brought out before final installation, and then you just take them one by one, one by one, one by one, measuring out, marking it, stripping to the length, and punching them in. So one by one, and either or, potatoes, you should be able to do it either way, because you're going to have situations one way or the other, right? So that's okay. So we were talking about the rough-in, where we just bring the wires, coil them up, and we try to foresee the situation here. When we leave, what happens when the drywallers come and they install the drywall? We're going to have a hard time going through those horizontal studs, right? Well, in this case, I would just run them here, drill a hole here, pull them out, and coil them here. Otherwise, you can just leave them on top. It depends. Every situation is different. You just have to make sure that when you come back, you're not going to dig yourself into some trouble that is unnecessary. So destination prep. All cables pulled down to the boxes, grommets, labeled boxes or grommets. What's a box? Well, this is a box, device box. This is a device box. This is a device box. Sometimes you put just a faceplate grommet. It's just it's not a box, but it's a mounting that mounts onto the drywall. So that's a grommet. Or sometimes you have those openings in the countertops, those round openings, those round holes. And when you just drill them, it's a rough opening. And you can put a plastic insert into that thing so it looks nice and neat. So that's the plastic thing, excuse me. The plastic thing would be called a grommet. So destination preparation. All cables pulled down to the boxes, grommets, labels transferred. Because over here, the numbers are all over the place. You're going to choose a nice spot for the numbers to be located. So you're going to transfer all those labels so you know which cable is which. That's extremely important. And if you put them in a single spot here, in one spot, then you will have no problem finding the numbers. You're going to look in that place for the numbers when you're sorting those wires out, instead of having to look at the different lengths and pulling them one by one and checking where the label is. Now, head end. So destination, all cables pulled, yeah, labels transferred, and basically you can terminate the jack at that point. Now, are you going to put that in the faceplate and mount it? Maybe yes, maybe no. Just think about that. What I do quite often, when I see a raw drywall, not painted, not plastered or whatnot, I'm going to install a jack, and I'm going to use that little foil packaging that the jack came in, and I'm going to put that on top of that jack and maybe just wrap it with electrical tape so the dust doesn't get in there. And I'm going to still coil it up and shove it in the box. Then wait for the walls to be nicely painted and everything, and then I'll just come back and install the jacks on the wall plates, on the face plates, and fasten the face plates into the device boxes. Otherwise, if you just put it in the faceplate and mount the faceplate, what's going to happen? Well, two things can happen. The drywallers and painters will just walk around it, and that's going to look not very attractive as a final product. Or they're going to unscrew those faceplates, and then there's no way what they're going to do to tell what they're going to do with them. don't have to understand. It's not their job to understand the wiring. Their job is to understand what they do. Right? So they might just kind of be not as fragile as the wires should be treated with. So some things can be destroyed, wires can be damaged. Or painters will just paint around it, and that's also not going to look very attractive as the new type of a construction that's just completed. So, depending on what the situation calls for, you might install the faceplates by then, or you might have to wait. Why do I put the plastic wrap around those jacks? It's because when people are sanding, painting, and whatnot, things get into the jack, and we don't want that. All right. Before, okay, not before. Here, there's one more slide. Here's a picture of that particular, the second, that was the, this one here. Aye. That was this job site here, and this is what some of the other side looks like. So see, this is pretty much clearly it's a commercial building, and sometimes you could be able to run wires in walls. In this case, I wasn't able to do that. For whatever reason, I wasn't able to run those wires in the cinder blocks, or maybe it was just spelled out in contract that it has to be done this way. I broke, so this is a wire molding or a plastic raceway. Maybe it's a Panduit. I forgot what it is already. Maybe it was a Hubble raceway. I think this one is a plastic one. Yes, it is. Well, it comes with the sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape. But if you think that you can just use the sticky tape and install that, after about an hour or so, maybe half an hour, that thing is just going to come off. So I broke few drill bits because this is a steel plate. Here's a steel beam. I broke few drill bits just to pre-drill some of the holes for the self-tapping screws, and I think I broke a couple of, so that could be, sometimes job that it's not very enjoyable, but it has to be done. After this thing was done, it looks nice and neat. All right, the wires had to be covered, and here is a surface mount box with the multiple data jacks. So there'll be 4 wires going here: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's the destination prep. Okay, now at the head end, that's what it looks like. And over here, you can see that these patch panels that were used here, these are unloaded patch panels. Sorry, this would be loaded patch panels, because you can see that the ports, the installation ports or the punch down ports are installed on the patch panels. So in this case, yes, you can still do a neat job, but it might take you slightly longer because you have to sort those wires by the number, and you have to take your time, be patient with that. You have to plan things out, count how many spaces you have, see what numbers on the wires you have. How can you rearrange? Are you missing any of the wires? Did you forget to pull one or something like that, right? So you're going to have to pre-plan the bundles. And some of the equipment racks, they have 2 tiered patch panels, so they're kind of like in a V shape. So you get left and right, and so you're going to pre-plan the bundles for left and right, and make sure that all the numbers are there. Because if you're missing one here, or if you're missing one here, all the other ones are going to be affected if you have to correct the number of wires in each bundle and the proper numbers that have to go there. What I would like to point out here also, with this loaded patch panel, the way that we did that in our wall-mounted patch panel, we were able to fasten those wires to those zip tie holders. And yes, we should use Velcro. If you have to use zip ties in those, just use them wisely. Do not squish the wires. Just provide a gentle guiding for the wires. So the wires are not squished. They are not under any kind of physical pressure. Now this one here, these patch panels here, they have support brackets. See, they just extend from the front of the patch panel, go to the rear couple inches, so that in this case you run those bundles and you fasten them to those support brackets, and then you can measure out the distance and terminate them on it. Now this takes a lot of patience, it takes some experience, and you just have to be consistent with it. If you get hired by some sort of a data installation company, they will not give you this type of job during your first maybe a few months. Now, if you are experienced installer and then you get hired by one of the companies and they know that you can do it, yes. But if you're new on the job, well, you're going to be kind of weaved in stages, and that's good, because I wouldn't give it to you if you were your first week on the job. You wouldn't want me to give it to you within the first week on your job, but you will be maybe assisting the person who is doing that. You'll be able to observe things and so on, right? So then you're going to gain that experience here. So what have we talked about so far today? We have stages of wire pulling, of wire installation, rough-in, destination prep. Okay. Whoa. Whoa. That's where we were here. Okay. Let me just get proper. Ooh. I apologize. What's going on here? Technology. That's what's going on. So we were talking about the rough-in and the destination prep. Two important stages when it comes to cabling installations. But first, before that, see, this is what the survey looks like. You got to plan things out. These are the two people that we were kind of, some years ago, we were a pretty good, tight team of infrastructure installations, and this is one of the buildings, in our town, about 15 minutes, 10 minutes of driving out of our college. So it's not too far, and you can see this is a steel framing. So before we were able to do the installation, before we were able to do the quote, excuse me, we would have to do the survey, and it's extremely important to plan things out. You walk through the whole facility. Now this survey, it took us about an hour and a half of going through all the floors, finding where on the drawings that we got, finding where all the destinations are going to be, checking out the main home run location, which would be the communication closet, and trying to foresee any kind of a challenge that we can encounter in order to price the job properly. Right? So, can you recognize the person in the background here? Some of us will. All right. Okay. So, survey, and then there's a quote. Now, the quote might be done by you if you are running your own business, doing that kind of stuff. or the quote can be done. That's why I didn't include it. The quote can be done usually if you work for a company. The quote will be done by the office people, project coordinators, usually. Usually that the position is called. Right? Project manager, project coordinator. I would strongly recommend or encourage you, if you have a chance to sign up for any course or educate yourself on project management, I would strongly recommend that you do that. Have that one more option. Quite often what happens is that if you just get yourself hired and new to business, yes, it's a good idea to be in the field, to do the installations, see how things are done by other people, observe, learn on the job, apply the knowledge that I'm giving you. But after some years that you do, maybe you might want to explore some other options. And project coordinator is one of those options. Besides that, the job is different. Because sometimes you just want to change things up. It depends on who it is, who you are, what you want. But the paycheck is also better. Right? So, yeah, there could be. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Now, I'm going to give you some couple of examples here of how things were done, and I called it the yay or nay thing. Oh no! One more slide before that, and there's the last. What is it that we are asking you to do after completing the job? See this word here? Deliverables, otherwise known as in our school environment as a lab report. What is the purpose of doing the labs? The purpose of doing the lab is to give you the activities that you will be facing when you go to face the real world and do the real jobs. So we just call those, in our class, we call the lab reports deliverables, just so you could get used to that kind of procedure. Now, this is another job that I did, well, about 12 years ago, 15 years ago. And the job was to install a monitor. And it was spelled out that they wanted the surface mount run wire right to the plug-in outlet. And of course, the monitor had to be mounted in a nice and safe way. What can I tell you about this particular one? See the deliverables I did? All right. So here's the monitor. And here's the monitor top view. So if I just had to go on the ladder and go with my camera and take a picture of what's behind the monitor. I had to change some things, not to change, but for example, the company that put out the contract, they didn't provide for any of the safety measures. So what I didn't want to kind of get it. It was a small job. I didn't want to bother with all the technicalities and the, he said, she said kind of things. It costed me a couple extra bucks because I had to go and get a couple of chains, mount them to the bracket, and those chains on the other side, that's above the wall right here. That's where the chains are coming out, and they're fastened to the red iron. So if anything happens, bracket gives out or gives in, somebody knocks things out, because you don't know who's going to do what to it. And if that comes down, those chains are going to support that, I'll give you extra support so it doesn't fall on somebody's head. And of course, I labeled the media player. What's a media player? Remember? Or media converter? Media player. The media player is connected to the network, which is right here in the communications room. So there's the wire being pulled, wires being pulled. Actually, it's that one there. It goes to that room. And it converts the Ethernet signal into the video signal that is being fed into the monitor. And here is the communications room. Now this is not my installation. It was installed by somebody else. I got in there, it was like that. Right? I just had to find one empty port and add to it. See this here? Recognize that? This is the patch panel that we worked with. I'm not giving you something to work with that you will not be working with in the future. I'm giving you something that you will encounter once you go to the job. So yes, it's a small space, like a closet space. So there's no rack there. Everything is mounted on the plywood. And yes, here's that patch panel that we used in our lab. All right. Now, just so we could give you some examples, how are we doing with time? You know what? We're doing pretty good. So I'm not going to dip into that week 12. We're fine. Couple of examples. You decide whether this thing is done properly or not. So installation examples, and I call this thing yay or nay. Now here you can see nicely installed data job. Wires are being pulled. Look, for crying out loud, they're color coded. That's more than amazing. Okay. Now, it looks like it was not a cheap installation. This type of wiring, this would take months to accomplish. What else can you see? Okay, see those support bars that are extended longer. And all the wires are nicely brought in. It looks like these are unloaded patch panels, so those wires are being put on the jacks, and jacks are being snapped onto those patch panels. These are commercially made or professionally made, well, whatever that means professionally in this case. Labels, wraparound labels. Some clients will request in contract that they don't want you to put numbers handwritten. They don't want handwritten numbers with the permanent marker. They want something that's called a wraparound label maker. You type it in, print the label, and wrap it around, and there it is. And sometimes you don't decide what the label should be. You get the, by the drawing and by the specifications. Right? So this, of course, would be yay. This is a pleasure to work with system. If you need to get into something, you need to add things, you need to retrofit, you need to change whatever. You have the whole thing right in front of you. This installation is relatively trouble-free for a long time. So yes, it would be a yay. Right? Trust me, this is not a Photoshop thing. Sometimes, not very often, you're going to see things. Yes, behind all this wire mess that is there, there's equipment there. What are you going to do if you have to replace a switch or replace something or add on to something or check something? You're going to have to disturb all the wires and possibly undo some connection that goes who knows where. Right? Have I seen something like this bad? I would say I've seen something that is almost as bad. More than once. Actually, there's one job that I'm doing for a client right now. Just installing a couple of jacks. And yeah, it's a smaller version of that. Maybe 1/15th size of this whole thing. But the wiring looks pretty much almost as bad as this. What do? Well, you let the client know that we're going to establish a secondary equipment rack, and whatever we need to run to that equipment rack, tell us where to plug it in, and we're going to plug it in, and we're just going to not touch this because we don't want to be the last person who touched this. Besides, look, that looks like they have a raised floor here. Yeah, no. Okay, that's asking for trouble. In some cases, what do? If you can, I wouldn't say, well, if I saw something like this, I'll just walk away. Unless somebody offered me $1 million to do something, then yeah, I'll probably consider that. Of course, I would do that. But for just as a regular job, I would just walk away because you were just asking about. Yeah, good thing they have those wire management clips here. See that? Yeah, it's a good thing. It helps holding the wire, right? Yeah, and sometimes if you can, if you think you can do it after you being a little bit experienced, you can offer a cleanup to the client, or you can just say, "Look, we can't do anything until this whole mess is cleaned up. We will offer to clean it up for you before we start the job, and it's going to cost you so much to make things right." And sometimes the client says yes, sometimes the client says no. Then you deal with it, depending on what you want to what you decide to do. Another example here. This is how things should be done. Look, you see here, those wires are done my way. This is not my job, although, no, I did a similar job in Mississauga, but that's not it. You can see those wires are nicely arranged. They are not kind of as they are. And obviously there's no crosstalk problems here. I'm not going to fight with anybody who says, yeah, you gotta be careful with the crosstalk, but look, here's an installation, and the installation is complete. Notice, again, they use Velcro. That takes a long time to do, and a lot of patience, a lot of experience. With time, you'll get to that type of ability that you can install things like that. When you do this type of installation, the client will call you back if they need more jobs to be done, and they always do. There's always adding more office space, moving, renovating, If you're in a good relationship with the client, by doing a proper job like this, they will be calling you all the time, and they will refer you, they will recommend you to other people. It's amazing how word of mouth is important in this type of business. So, yeah, this is a pretty good installation here. Yeah. No. This looks like it's an old telephone cross connect somewhere in the street. All those boxes that are on the street. And this is how your telephone conversations would travel through. This is the and I'm not sure what type of this is probably not from North America even. This looks like crayon. These look like crayon blocks, not Bix blocks, not 110 blocks. These look like crayon. So that is probably somewhere in Europe, possibly UK. Yeah. Everybody and their brother has been to this thing here, and they created that type of a mess. That's where you get crosstalk happening. Wires affecting the others. No. It would take very little effort to make things proper one by one. Just run the wires nicely and neatly instead of doing that kind of stuff. Seriously, for this thing, if someone is so-called quote-unquote professional in doing this type of stuff, there's no excuse for this type of mess to be created. And that's it for the second part of the wiring practices. Next time I will see your group is going to be in person, and you're going to get the first part of it, and that's going to complete this week's lectures. Okay, look, we're right on the spot. It's 10 to 11. We're good. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I'll see you, I think, tomorrow on Friday. Thank you for your attention, and have a wonderful day.